Well, welcome back to our little cottage here on the river in the far north of Idaho. So as you just saw, the other day we went huckleberry picking up in the mountains. And here in North Idaho, there's a couple different times that you can go huckleberry picking. Usually around the 4th of July, down in the lower elevations, there will be a lot of huckleberries. And so like on the 4th of July, we went on a hike up at Priest Lake, and there were a ton of huckleberries that were ripe, and blueberries. And then around this time of year, so middle of August, end of August, up in the higher elevations, there will be a ton of huckleberries as well. So this is the time of year that we really like to go huckleberry picking. We went for an afternoon. We only picked for about 2.5 hours, and we got a full gallon of huckleberries, which is actually pretty good. It was mainly just Luke and I picking. My son did pick some and contribute some, but after about 20 or 30 minutes, Lucy was really enjoying picking her own huckleberries and eating them, of course. But after about 20 or 30 minutes, she was a little bit bored and just wanted to do exploring and all of that. So he took over, just keeping an eye on her, and Luke and I just focused on getting the huckleberries. And so yeah, we got a full gallon, and the spot we were at, we could have picked for another, like we didn't even have to move spots. We could have picked in that same spot for another 2.5 hours and gotten another gallon of huckleberries. There was just so many, which was awesome. I'm just gonna make this into huckleberry jam. If we had gotten more, I would probably freeze some to make into a huckleberry pie at some point, possibly. But because we just got the 1 gallon, I'm just going to do huckleberry jam and water bath can it, so that way we can have huckleberry jam into the winter time and have a little treat and a little taste of summer somewhere in the middle of winter. So anyway, first thing, oh, and this is such a simple recipe. I'm only using huckleberries and sugar. So I'm not even using boxed pectin. You may have seen my video where I did plum jam and I just did plums and sugar, no pectin. And so in that video, I kind of show you how to do that. It's so easy. It basically just means you're going to cook the jam down longer until it becomes the thickness that you want. But anyway, let's get to it. First, I need to rinse and kind of pick out any little leaves or stems that are still in the huckleberries. And then I'm going to add them to my pot with the sugar, and we'll get them starting to cook down. So here I'm just filling the bowl up with cold water, nice cold water. And here you can see these little leaves that got in there. There's not too many. And so I'm just going to rinse these, get the little leaves out. There aren't too many stems. Sometimes there'll be a little tiny green stem left on them, but these actually did just fine. There's not many at all. I think because these were so ripe and so ready to be picked, they just came off the little stems very easily. So you can also just fill the bowl up, and a lot of times the little any little twigs, sticks will float to the top, and you can just kind of pull it off. Okay, so I got the berries rinsed and picked through them, made sure got as many leaves and stems out as we could. And then I'm just going, oh, here's a little stem. But honestly, if 1 or 2 of those or 3 make it through, It's not the end of the world. I would just say you definitely don't want any little leaves in there or twigs. Okay, so into the pot. So, like I said, this was a full gallon, and this is a 6-quart pot. So, I want to say that that's about 4 quarts of berries or so. And so I'm going to add in 5 cups of sugar. And of course, you can add as little or as much sugar as you like. It's 2, 3, 4, just about 5. Okay, so now I'm going to start mixing the sugar and the berries, and I'm going to turn my burner on low, very low. So just about 1 notch above the lowest setting. And you want this to gently warm up. The sugar is going to start to pull the moisture out of the berries. You don't need to add any water to this. And as I said, you want this just to warm up very slowly. And of course, as the berries warm up as well, that will also pull moisture out of them as well. So the thing you have to remember with this is it just does take a little bit of time. Like, you are going to be in your kitchen watching your pot of jam as you let this cook down and become the thickness that you want. And so, as I said, I'm just going to let this warm up slowly, and I'm going to keep an eye on it and stir it at least every couple of minutes. I use a nice big heavy bottomed pan. So this is a cast iron pan that's coated with enamel, and that way it just makes sure that it's heating evenly. If you use a thin bottomed pot, you're just more likely to have some scorching, to have it not heat as evenly. And so you definitely can. I have made plenty of jam in a thinned bottom stainless steel pot that's been coated with enamel. But I will say I do tend to have a lot more scorching and just uneven heating. So use a nice heavy bottom pot if you have one. And then, just keep stirring it and keeping an eye on it while it slowly warms up. Okay, so here you can see things are starting to warm up a little bit. It's only been about 5 minutes. You can see the juices, the moisture starting to come out of the huckleberries. And that is exactly what we want. And so I'm just going to continue to stir every couple of minutes. And so while my berries and sugar are warming up, I'm going to go ahead and fill up my canning pot. And this is just your basic enamelware canning pot. So this is for water baths, obviously. This is not a pressure canner. You're going to use this for jams. You're going to use it for tomato sauce. You're going to use this for making pickles, just because those things tend to either have a lot of sugar or a lot of acid in them, which makes it so that they can be water bath. They do not have to be pressure canned. So I'm just going to get this filled up. I'm using little half-pint jars, jam jars, for this. So I just need to make sure that it's just going to cover the tops of the jars. I don't need to fill this up too high or anything like that. And I'm filling it up with hot water because this is such a big pot. It's so much water. It's going to take a lot of time to come up to a boil. And then once this is up to a boil, I will use this to sanitize my little jam jars. You probably could wash them with just hot water and soap, and that would be just fine. But I like to just drop them in the boiling water, really get them good and sanitized, and let them dry on a clean towel before I put the jam into them. And so I'm just going to get this over here onto the other burner. There's not a lot of space on this stove. And just get this going and get that working on boiling. It's still going to be quite a while before I am ready for the jam to go in the jars because this has to cook down, but I'd rather have this nice and hot and ready to go, even if I have to turn the burner off and just not use it right away. At least the water is nice and hot, so it will come up to a boil a lot quicker when I am ready to do the bath for the jars. Okay, so here you can see how we're doing. We are about 20 or so minutes into it, and this is what it looks like. My guess is it's going to take about an hour to an hour and a half even to be where I want it to be for before I put it into the jars to go into the water bath. So we'll just keep stirring and keeping an eye on it. Now the water is boiling in here, so I'm going to get my little half-pint jars. I'm going to get them into here so they can get sanitized and get them drying on a clean towel. Okay, so I'm using these little half-pint jars. These are specifically supposed to be for jam. They're the little quilted ones. They have a little decoration on them. And these are Ball. These are the Ball brand, and they come with the ring and the lid on them. So I'm going to take those off. I'm not exactly sure how many of these little jars I'm going to need. I probably actually don't need this many. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 here. I'm probably not going to need all 10, but I'm just going to go ahead and prep all 10 because I would rather have too many prepped than not enough. So that is a nice rolling boil in this pot. Just going to get all those in there. Okay, so I'm going to drop my little jars in carefully. And usually I used to have special little tools that would, I had a little stick with a magnet on it to pull the lids out of the water. I had special tongs to pull the jars out of the hot water, and I have no clue where they went. So I'm just using some basic grilling tongs to do this job. So just making sure they don't have to be in here long, literally just a minute, if that, just to get them sanitized. And then I just pull them out and pop them onto the towel. So like I said, there are special tools for this that make it a little bit easier, not so precarious, like that. Usually they have like silicone or rubber on them, so they grip the jars. See, this is, yeah. So it is totally doable to do this without the canning tools, but it is a little bit more precarious. Like I said, I used to have all the right tools, and I just do not know. I think just with when I moved to Idaho, they just got lost in transport or whatever. Just be careful that you don't burn yourself. I am splashing hot water, boiling water everywhere right now. Oh, one of the lids came up with it, so I'll just let those start drying. So I will just let these sit here on these clean towels and dry. I hear little Miss Lucy waking up from her nap, so I'm going to go grab her, and she will probably be in the rest, or if you don't see her, you'll probably hear her in the rest of this video. But anyway, yeah, let me go get her up, and we will keep on making jam. Okay, so we're at about an hour of simmering this jam, and so I want to start testing the consistency and see how thick it's getting. And so right now when it's boiling hot, you can't really get a good gauge just by looking at it this way, how thick it's getting. You can kind of, but the best thing to do that I have found is to take a little plate and spoon some of the hot jam onto the plate, and you're going to let this cool completely. And then when it's cooled completely, you're going to run your finger down the middle of it to see how thick it is. And I can already tell just by how it's running across the plate that this is definitely not ready, but I still kind of want to show you the process of checking it every so often to see how thick it's getting. So let's let this cool, and then I will run my finger through it. You can also throw this in the fridge to let it cool quicker. You can just leave it out on the counter, but if you want it to let it cool quicker, toss it in the fridge and let it cool in the fridge. What's up? Oh. Do you want some cheese? Would you like some string cheese? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So this is cooled completely in the fridge. And so I'm going to run my finger through the middle of it, and it's just not, it's definitely still very watery. So, not ready yet. You can also use this as an opportunity to taste it. See if it's sweet enough for you. If you want to add more sugar, that is absolutely perfect for me. So yeah, this definitely, an hour was definitely not long enough. We're going to keep testing it. I will probably let this go another 30 minutes before I test it again. You could test it every 15 minutes by doing the plate test. But I can tell just where it's at. It still needs a lot more time. So I'm going to let this go probably another 30 minutes, and then I will check it again. Although I say that, make sure you're still stirring it though every couple of minutes. So don't leave this to sit for 30 minutes without stirring it. Keep stirring every couple of minutes, but I'm going to wait another 30 minutes before I test it again. And so here's kind of another close-up for you. So this is about an hour, a few minutes over an hour in. And this is where we're at. And I have not used the immersion blender. These huckleberries are definitely cooking down really nicely. You can kind of see on the pot too, like right here, there's a bit of a gap. So you can see that it is cooking down, which is what we want. But this definitely needs quite a bit longer before it becomes the jam consistency that I'm wanting. Okay, so it's been about 30 minutes since I last tested. So I'm going to do the plate test again. And scoop some of this onto the plate. And then I'm going to pop this in the fridge and let it cool completely, and we will see and test the thickness. Okay, so I stuck it in the fridge and it is cool, and it is definitely thicker than it was before. So that line stays a whole lot better. So I'm thinking that if we go another, I'm going to let it go another 30 minutes. Maybe 15. 30. 20. Anyway, I'll probably let it go 15. I will check it again. It might have to go for another 30, which would be a total of 2 hours that it took for this to cook down to where I want it. Yeah, I'm going to have to just check it again in about 15 or 20 minutes. And yeah, but I think at the most another 30 minutes is what it's going to take. And then we can get these into the jars and get it into the water bath. Okay, so I did one last fridge or plate test, and I can already tell that this is probably going to be, yes, this is definitely looking right around where I want it to be. Now, after I put this in the jars and it does the water bath and it sits out, you know, and cools off to room temperature, it will thicken up even more. And then once you open a jar, oh, Miss Lucy's a little impatient. She's done with her lunch. But anyway, once you open the jar and store it in the fridge, it will thicken up even more. So this is looking great. It's been about 2 hours. So it took about 2 hours on a low simmer for it to get right where I wanted it to be. So let's get this into the jars and into the water bath. All right, so here's a close-up of the jam. So you can see the consistency. Still, of course, when it's hot, it's very thin, but when it cools, it is exactly where I want it to be. What, you want to go outside? Okay, you can go out on the deck. Here you go. Let's wait till more of the evening so they don't wander off. Okay, so all I'm going to do, actually, I'm going to turn the heat off to this. I'm just going to take, this is a little 1/2 cup measuring cup, and scoop this into the jars very carefully because it is molten hot, obviously. Again, a funnel for canning. I used to have one. That will actually help you a lot if you have one of those. That will help with this process not be so messy. But again, I'm just going to have to use what I have right now. So I'm just going to do the best I can to get this into the jars with this. And if it gets on these towels, I always buy, I have piles of these white towels that I use in the kitchen. I don't worry if they get stained. They're for using like almost like paper towels. Like I just use them for everything. And then after maybe about 6 months or so, I will buy more if they're getting really bad. Or maybe not even every 6 months, maybe every year I'll buy new ones. So I'm not worried if these jars get stained with huckleberry juice. All right. And you want to leave about a 1/4 inch room at the top. Oops, I'm still upside down. That would have been a mess. So yeah, just about a 1/4 inch at the top. And keep going. Okay, let me get these filled and then I will let you know the next step in the process. All right, so I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Exactly 8 half-pint jars of huckleberry jam out of the 4 quarts or 1 gallon of huckleberries that I got. So I was very pleasantly surprised that it's like 8 exact jars. There's not like one with a bunch of room left in it. So pretty cool. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this warm with some warm water, just a paper towel, because you want to make sure that there's nothing on the rim of the jam jars before you put the lids on. So I just wipe that off. Then I'm going to take one of the lids, pop it on there, and then stick a ring on. And you only need these to be finger tight, so just until it's on there, it's great. Doesn't have to be crazy tight or anything like that. So yeah, I'm just going to get these rims wiped off and the lids on. And the water bath is boiling, and then I will get these into the water bath. Get these into the water with my tongs. My very precarious tongs. Make sure you got a good grip. And because these are hot, like these are, you know, you can't, these will burn you if you hold on to them. It is totally fine to stick them into the boiling water. If these were ice cold and you stuck them into the boiling water, you would have broken jars all over the place. So it is totally fine that these are boiling hot and they're going into boiling hot water. That is not a problem. But of course, be very careful doing this part, especially if you don't have the right tools. Here you can see the jars. There's about 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch of water covering the jars. So that's good. And so I am just going to cover this and let this go, let this boil for 10 minutes. Then I'm going to pull them out and they will be done. Okay, so our jars of jam have been in the water bath for 10 minutes. So now I'm going to shut this off and once again, very carefully remove these. Just set them on another towel. And right now, the little lids, they kind of pop up in the middle. So right now they're popped up because of the pressure, and then as they cool, they will suction down. And you'll actually hear them do this. You'll start as they sit on the counter and come to room temperature, you'll hear a little pop. A little, I guess I would describe it as a popping sound as the lid seals. Almost got it. One more. Yes. Okay. Beautiful. All right. So here are these jars. As I said, they're going to sit here on the counter and come to room temperature. They are incredibly hot right now. The center of their little lids will start to suction down. Oh, there one went. I really hope you guys heard that. So that one just sealed. Oh, there goes another one. Okay, so here are my 8 jars of, or 8 half-pint jars of fresh huckleberry jam. And these are still piping hot. Once they cool, I will take a Sharpie and mark the tops with the date and then stick them out in the pantry to store them. Since there's only 8 jars, these will probably not last a full year, but these can definitely be stored for at least a year, if not a couple years, in the pantry. But yeah, like I said, there's only 8 jars. I'm going to give some away as gifts, and then we will definitely enjoy some for ourselves. So I will have a printable version of this recipe over on my blog, homesbyAnnie.com. I will also have it linked in the description box below. Over there on my blog, you will be able to find all of my recipes. There's a search bar at the top of the page, of the home page, and you can search, if you're looking for a cookie recipe or a cake recipe or a jam recipe, you can just type in cookie or cake or bread, whatever it is you're looking for, and then all of the recipes that are under those categories will pop up. So I think I've made my website fairly simple enough to find the recipes that you're looking for. So anyway, head on over there to see the recipe for this. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a like. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Share with someone else you think would enjoy it. And I will talk to you guys in the next video.